Welcome, everybody, to episode 4 of the Hanukkah Erotica podcast.
Hello.
Hanukkah Erotica Book Club podcast.
Right.
Hi, Malya.
Hello.
I'm Raizel.
And I'm Malya.
And that's Malya. And we are here. We're here reviewing Hanukkah and Jewish romance novels and the occasional movie.
That's right.
Speaking of which, you may know that last week
was a big week.
Was a big week for us. A big week for us. We were going to record an episode on Menorah in the Middle, one of 2 Hanukkah movies to have come out this year. And in the wonder of wonder, miracle of miracles, Jonah Platt, star of Menorah in the Middle, popped on, said he was only going to have 5 minutes, but like the oil, he lasted way longer.
I like that. I like what you did there.
Thanks.
He was very he liked us. Listen, we're fun.
You know what we are? And speaking of fun, and him thinking that we're fun, I have a chat to read to you, Mal. My friend
Great.
Rachel Hillman was a little mortified by something I said. She said, "Oh my God," quote, "I know you're a little bit of a musical theater person. He was in Wicked." She couldn't believe that I called him a little bit of a musical theater person. But she also said, "This was really nice of him, LOL. Did he think you were so weird?" And I was like, "No, actually, I think he thought we were fun." So I asked him, "Did you think," I sent him the screenshot of that conversation, and he said, "No, you were really fun." Yes.
Oh my God. I can't. You have an ongoing friendship with Jonah Platt now. It's really funny.
I mean, yeah, a little bit. I think it's, fizzling, but I had to tell him that because, the other thing she said that I had to tell him was, she said, "I have to say, I love how much he loves being Jewish. I saw him at the GA and he's just such a good, educated Jew. Good job, Mark and Julie, for raising those boys. Good job, Mark and Julie, raising those boys." The Platt parent, the Mark and Julie Platt. So really big week. I loved talking to him.
He was so nice and just like, I enjoyed him enjoying us. So,
Yes. He did take it very seriously, which I appreciated. Like, I didn't indicate in our conversations that we are kind of a comedy podcast because I've never actually labeled us as such. I appreciate how seriously he took it, but, we're funny. We're fun.
Listen, he's a serious actor and you wanted to make that clear. And I accept that. I think, he was having a little fun with the pronunciation of Rugala.
He was.
He was lighthearted about it.
Speaking of his beautiful rendition of Al Hanisim, Malya, it sounds like you spoke to him and he said we can share the song.
Yes, I have my own little burgeoning friendship with Jonah Platt, I'll say. I'm not embarrassed to admit. It was so nice that he referenced that new Al Hanisim that I thought, and William, our sound/producer, suggested that maybe we could include a clip of that in an episode, but of course that involves all kinds of copyright issues. So I wrote to him and asked him, and I said, "I'm a lawyer, so I understand that could be complicated. Just thought we'd ask." It was a soft ask. And he said, "Sure, use the clip."
Wow.
I know.
Malya, I have an extra appreciation for how this all worked out because, gearing up for the next few months, I kind of know what's on our book list. I've been DMing some authors and saying, we're going to be doing your book on our podcast. Maybe you want to pop in, kind of casual, trying to recreate the magic that happened with Jonah Platt.
Yeah.
And one author wrote back and she was like, "Oh, that's so exciting, but for any inquiries like this, please reach out to my agent." And I'm going to be like, okay, but I'm just saying, Jonah Platt was in Wicked. Like, he was the star of Menorah in the Middle. Like, he was in Jesus Christ Superstar Live. He has a whole career in his own right. He didn't ask us to jump through any hoops.
And many Instagram followers, I'll add. Like, a lot
He's
many
famous.
thousands of Instagram followers.
I'm sure way more than this author, who I won't name because I don't, want to throw anyone under the bus. But I'm just saying, reach out to my agent.
Yeah. It's a little bit like, we get it. You have an agent.
We get it. You're not
Don't brag
self-published.
about it. Yeah, exactly.
Her loss, because I'm not reaching out to the agent.
Too bad. No Hanukkah erotica for her.
No Hanukkah erotica.
It's
for
okay.
that author.
We're
And it is.
grassroots, and we embrace others who feel the same way.
Exactly. But there will be some authors in the coming months. I do think there will be.
Great.
So what are we talking about tonight?
I think tonight we're talking about our next Hanukkah. First of all, I think we should acknowledge Hanukkah is technically over.
Yes.
However, we're still in the holiday season, and so we thought, since we didn't get in a full 8 nights of reviews this year, we should just try to get one more in, and that one more is 8 Nights of Flirting, our first YA selection.
Yes, 8 Nights of Flirting by Hannah Reynolds. Yeah, good point, Mal. We're extending the season because it's, we're feeling festive. But we'll tell you at the end of the podcast of tonight's episode what our plans are for the rest of the year until next Hanukkah. But okay, 8 Nights of Flirting by Hannah Reynolds. Mal, how do you feel about YA in general?
Yeah, I was going to ask you the same thing. Do you read YA? Because I'll be honest, I haven't read a YA book since I was a YA, I'm pretty sure.
Well, actually, I remember a very snarky moment when you were probably 22. There was a book club. Somebody recommended a book for a book club you were in.
Oh my God, yes, and it was in the young adult section. I was like, what?
And you were like, I think this is a children's book. I think she recommended a children's book.
Yes.
So I don't think you read it. I wonder what book that was.
No, I know exactly what book it was. It was The Book Thief.
Oh, The Book Thief.
Which was a YA book that like adults were reading, and it was like a serious Holocaust novel for teenagers or whatever. But I was disparaging about the fact that I had to find it in the young adult section. And I know everyone loved that. Whatever. I'm not gonna get into The Book Thief because that's not our topic. But my point is, that gives you a sense of my general feeling about YA, which is just like, I have a prejudice against it because I think I still think about it the way that I remember it when I was a teenager, like in the late 90s, which was like, I don't know, a lot of like cautionary tale, teenage pregnancy books, a lot of like teenager with cancer who's like mourning their life that's like never going to be lived, like a lot of, I don't know, just like cheesy like PG-13 like heavy petting, I don't know, just I already have a bit of a prejudice against it, although I'll say I feel like this book totally proved me wrong.
They've gotten better.
Way better.
They've gotten better. They have. So to answer your original question of do I read YA, I would say I didn't for a lot of years, but I really like the Jenny Han books. So she wrote To All the Boys I Loved Before, which was a Netflix movie, a trilogy on Netflix, and also The Summer I Turned Pretty, which is a series on Prime. Jenny Han's books are really on multiple streaming networks. Anyway, this book reminds me almost of a Jewish combination of the two, because The Summer I Turned Pretty is based in a place called Cousins Beach, which has that Nantucket, Cape Cod vibe. And To All the Boys I Loved Before has a whole fake boyfriend storyline. And so I feel like this is kind of a combination of that. I watched To All the Boys I Loved before I read the books, but then I went back and read the books. I also really like the Angie Thomas books, The Hate You Give and On the Come Up. Those are also YA books. Those are so good. I really recommend them. Not Hanukkah erotica, but really fantastic books. So I guess I do like YA is the answer to that question. I do think it's gotten a lot better.
And do you like it because you feel like it brings you back to your teenage self? Or do you like it because it helps explore like coming of age themes that are fun to think about? Or like, what is it?
I think that it definitely brings me back. I have real nostalgia for my boy crazy days where I juggled multiple crushes. And know these these characters do the same. Into All the Boys I Loved Before, for example, she writes love letters to 4 crushes. In this book, The 8 Nights of Flirting, she had done this character Shira Barbanel. By the way, let's give the summary of the book in a sec. But Shira Barbanel in 8 Nights of Flirting, she did this cringe grand gesture when she was 13 or 14, where she wrote out in seashells to her crush, Tyler, date me. we should put a pin in that, but I have done some extremely, extremely cringe grand gestures in my day, like, to the point where I would probably rather never even be able to use the technology of email than have to reread emails I've sent. So, like, so I do think it brings me back. The characters in these books are super boy crazy. They have really big feelings. I had really and have really big feelings. You know, it's like you and I both.
Deal.
Everything's a big deal. And also, there's also a lot of close friendships I really like in all these books. There's really, just like we talked about in the other books, like really nice female friendship. I enjoy the big bustle of the family. You know, there's big kids running around. There's little kids running around. Like I really enjoy all of it. So yeah, I think that it brings me back. I think I'm nostalgic for that time, and I think that's part of why I really like it. But also, these books are well written. They're complex. They're layered.
Really well written.
But they're very easy to read, right? So it's like, I think it's a nice palate cleanser. When sometimes, you know, it's like I read a lot of different kinds of books, and I think I kind of weave in a YA here and there, probably as a palate cleanser. Let me read the summary of the book, and then let's go into the book a little bit more. Okay.
Great.
A 16-year-old girl is on a mission to find the perfect boyfriend this Hanukkah, but love might not go according to plan in this charming winter rom-com from the author of The Summer of Lost Letters. Shira Barbanel has a plan. This Hanukkah, she's going to get a boyfriend, and she has the perfect candidate in mind, her great-uncle's assistant, Isaac. He's reliable, brilliant, and of course, super hot. The only problem? Shira is an absolute disaster when it comes to flirting. Enter Tyler Nelson, Shira's nemesis / former crush. As much as she hates to admit it, Tyler is the most charming and popular guy she knows, which means he's the perfect person to teach her how to win Isaac over. When Shira and Tyler get snowed in together at Golden Doors, they strike a deal. Flirting lessons for Shira in exchange for career connections for Tyler. But as Shira starts to see the sweet, funny boy beneath Tyler's playboy exterior, she realizes she actually likes hanging out with him. And that wasn't part of the plan. Amidst a whirl of snowy adventures, hot chocolate, and candlelight, Shira must learn to trust her heart to discover if the romance she planned is really the one that will make her the happiest. So there's our summary of the book. And what is Golden Doors? Golden Doors is this estate that Shira's family lives in and has lived in for hundreds of years, 200 years, over 100 years in Nantucket. The way that I pictured Golden Doors was sort of like a British estate, almost like what you'd see in the countryside of England. To me,
I was imagining like Downton Abbey or something like that.
Yes, exactly. It seemed like very estate-like, and I'm curious what you think, but definitely not something that, in my mind, is stereotypically Jewish. Nantucket...
no, not at all.
You know, Nantucket has a reputation of being waspy, which is touched on. And I did a little bit of research. We could talk more about like what the author was trying to get at here with this Jewish community in Nantucket, or this Jewish family landing in Nantucket, because it didn't feel really Jewish to me. But yeah, the Golden Doors is the name of their estate, which, like Downton Abbey, it's like when you have an estate this big, you name your home, I guess. And so Shira is going to spend winter break with her family at Golden Doors, where she spends every winter break. There's a snowstorm. Her family's not able to come. When she gets to the airport, she sees Tyler Nelson, her former crush of all crushes, you know, swoon-worthy guy.
I like how much the swooniness is dwelt on throughout the book. Also, it's constantly like, God, he was gorgeous. God, he's beautiful. Right? Like, God, those blue eyes. That's like every other page.
His corn silk hair.
His corn silk hair. The rose flushed cheeks. Like, it really, really harps on his beauty.
Yes. Yes. And by the way, I did read The Summer of Lost Letters after this book, her first book. It's also about the Barbanels in Nantucket. It's the same family. And Tyler's in that book too. And he's just as beautiful, but it's The Summer of Lost Letters takes place in the summer, not the winter, in Nantucket, and so he's like sun-kissed skin, golden brown skin, like sunny glow, like
lots of opportunity there.
He's very tan and very beautiful.
Noted.
So Shira basically is snowed in. Tyler and her ends up sharing a car back home from the airport. He has no power. He has to stay with her the night at Golden Doors, and they kind of formed this connection, even though 2 years prior he really humiliated her when she professed her love for him. He rejected her when she was a kid,
Right.
and she turned that love into hate, and really started to hate him. Anyway, the love rekindles, and he teaches her how to flirt. What'd you think of the whole thing?
I mean, I thought it was cute. I genuinely. Here's what I think. The whole teach me to flirt, teach me to kiss thing is super cheesy, but I get that it's a book for teenagers. It's still super cheesy. However, I felt like their connection and the way that it was developed was actually sweet and genuine. There was a really, because the book is long. It's a long book. So their
Very
connection has time to build up, and they are both sort of slowly revealing bits of themselves. And I believed the way that their banter sort of evolved from her being reserved and sort of suspicious of him and feeling sort of still humiliated, very fresh humiliation, to them both kind of just genuinely connecting and having fun with each other, and then being whoa, what is this? I believed that. Even though the whole teach me to flirt thing is just
totally
ridiculous.
Yeah. Ridiculous and probably unrealistic, and only the stuff of YA books, really, but fun. How do you feel about the Jewish element of the book and the way Hanukkah's woven in? I kind of felt like we have another scene where there's a intimate menorah lighting scene at the beginning, that first night when they when they light the menorah together. They're alone in this giant mansion estate. The power is out. They're lighting the menorah. She's singing the blessings. I thought that was intimate.
Totally.
And then I'm just curious how you felt about just Hanukkah being woven into this book in general.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know anything about whether any portion of this is actually historically accurate. I sense that you may have some more knowledge than I do, but it felt very much like a waspy sort of trope with some Jew slapped on top of it. Even her sort of, the type of Jew she is, she's very connected to her family and their rich history that sort of happens to be Jewish, but there doesn't seem like she has so much Jewish knowledge. For example, the first night when they're she's explaining to him about lighting the candles, and she's it symbolizes the menorah, the first menorah where the oil lasted for 8 days, and they're why do you light? And then he's well, why don't you light oil instead of candles? And she's I don't know. But meanwhile, many people do light oil. Actual, the actual, most stringent version of lighting the menorah is oil menorahs, and there's tons of them available. So it's
she would never know that, though. This type of Jewish person wouldn't know that.
But is this a type of Jewish person that really exists? That's what I'm asking, I guess.
Okay. So, I think a few things. I think that there is a kind of secular / culturally connected Jewish person who lights the menorah every night, eats latkes. And by the way, even Jonah described his wife decorating their home in a blue and white Christmas is kind of what he described, right?
True.
And we were he described that scene in this book where she gets out boxes of Hanukkah decorations and decorates the entire house in blue and white tinsel, blue and white wreaths, dreidels, Hanukkah banners, right? That is something that she describes in the book.
Hanukkah tablescape. Right.
Yes, a Hanukkah tablescape that there's boxes of, so which to me does sound like something that families who decorate for Christmas might take out their box and put up their decorations. I've decorated my friend's Christmas tree multiple years in a row, and it's the same box that comes out every year, and we unwrap all the ornaments. So it did kind of have that feel. You're right, but I do think that there is a type of secular Jewish person who's really who celebrates the holiday, because she even acknowledges, she's like, this isn't even one of our biggest holidays. Like, it just happens to be it just falls around Christmas. Like, she says that. I think that probably Hannah Reynolds, who wrote the book, is that kind of a Jewish person. She who the different. My question is, could there be a family on Nantucket who is living in this kind of a way, with this kind of wealth, in this kind of waspy beach town?
Right. Like such a storied Jewish family, but it was like but it's really just waspiness with like Jewish kind of slapped on top. That's what I'm saying. She doesn't really seem to have any deep understanding of Hanukkah, which is fine, except that like she's also living this like very like storied Jewish family, waspy, moneyed existence. Like, I don't know, it doesn't seem to all jive for me. But maybe I'm not, sadly,
so it's
not aware
money.
of this.
I
right.
a lot. But Moore's clarified for sure in book one, but I don't think it's meant to be like book one, book two. But in the Summer of Lost Letters, there's a lot more about the Barbanels. They came from Morocco, and it makes sense to me because there's these scenes where she's cooking like a tagine, and
right.
there's like the Yotam Ottolenghi book. It's like they're cooking all these Middle Eastern recipes.
That's right.
I didn't make that connection at the beginning, and then I started to do a little research, and I guess that families from Portugal moved to Newport, New Bedford, and through this whaling community and connection to Nantucket, families ended up in Nantucket. There's no actual historical old moneyed Jewish family that has an estate in Nantucket. It was this because by the way, I asked Hannah Reynolds about this directly, and she wrote me a message. I'll read it to you. But
oh, great.
There is a history of Jews in the area. For example, and I knew this from a trip a really long time ago. Also, my brother lives there. The oldest synagogue in the whole country. Do you know where that is?
Oh yeah, in Rhode Island?
Yes, in Newport, Rhode Island. And so there's like these connections between these families from Morocco and Portugal who moved. I didn't realize that that original shul in Newport was a Sephardic synagogue. It was these are families from, but I guess it was sometime in the 1700s. And I guess those families have a connection to New Bedford, a place I don't know, and through whaling, and so she kind of built a story around a family that could exist, but it doesn't. Here's what she said, because I was really confused about that and asked her about it. She said, "Hi, Raizel and Malya. That's so cool that you're reading 8 Nights of Flirting. Thank you so much. I can't make a 10 p.m. book club, but I'm thrilled you're covering it." Blue heart. She didn't say talk to my agent.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, me too. 8 Nights isn't based on my family or any real Nantucket family, but I grew up going to the Cape, she means Cape Cod, so I wanted to set the series in the area. I did do a lot of research to make the Barbanels a possibility. There was a Sephardic Jewish community in Providence in the 17 and 1800s, which was close to New Bedford, which was a whaling town with connections to Nantucket, so it's not impossible that people might have had business opportunities that moved them between the towns. The thing is, it kind of is impossible that that a Jewish family with that kind of rich history, I don't mean rich, I mean like rich history, would settle in a place where there were zero other Jews. I can't see it happening.
Right. Because like, who are they socializing with all this like wealth and like, I don't know, high society sort of types? Like, who's their society? Like, it doesn't make.
I don't know that high society types want to necessarily associate, like high society non-Jewish types want to associate with the Barbanels.
Exactly. Right.
So I liked reading about them, and I liked their story, and I also thought it was just generally fun, like the house and the kids and the Hanukkah play that they wrote, and I enjoyed all of their shit.
It's so fun, and I love like stories about like idyllic big families. This family was over the top idyllic. I felt like to the point of not being believable how everything just like that they did kind of seamlessly fell into place, even though there's like, we're all hustling and bustling and there's so many of us, but oh, look, we all catered from scratch a Hanukkah party for hundreds of people.
Yes.
Like, somehow we were all put into an assembly line and we're chopping and grating, and oh, look, latkes are strewn throughout the home. I don't know, it just seemed like come on, you're all catering that party and you're like sitting around with your feet up. Like, I don't know. Like,
I know,
it just
but
seemed
the thing
so,
about
yeah.
totally, it's just that I want to see it on Netflix. Like it was so much fun. Like I totally agree. It was not very believable, but I want more. Like I actually want to see them. Like it was very enjoyable to me, and I like that they were Jews because I do think that representation is really important, and we see movies like this and characters like this, and they're rarely Jewish, but
True.
having this kind of teen romance and this kind of family be a Jewish family. I mean, I thought that was really, I loved it. I liked that the traditions, I understand what you're saying. Like it kind of seemed like they were wasps with
I just wonder, does it feel like, is it meaningful representation if there's nothing so Jewish about them beyond saying like, okay, they're Jews? I don't know.
I think it depends, because what's Jewish? They ate Jewish foods, like they sang Jewish songs, they did some Jewish rituals. Right.
True.
So those are all Jewish things. Like there's definitely no, like I did not grow up with, and I didn't even know what halacha or Jewish law was, period. Like I didn't know, it wasn't a thing.
Right.
Like they have Shabbat dinner. They even acknowledge that Hanukkah is not their biggest holiday. Like there was stuff, even though some of the Jewish traditions might not be traditions that we do, like breaking out a box and decorating the house for Hanukkah, because that does feel, I think, more Christmassy than anything else. But I actually think that there are a lot of Jews who care about the holiday and care about being together, but they don't, that's how they practice.
Totally. Oh no, I agree.
I also
agree.
really like that no one said a word about Tyler not being Jewish. Like they don't care. And I like that they didn't care. Like I'm happy that the family was comfortable with Shira dating Tyler or doing whatever she was doing with Tyler. Like they weren't like having a sit down with her like, oh, Isaac's a much better option because he's Jewish and he this. Like it was cool. Like I like that there was no pressure. The whole book, if it was an Orthodox family, would have been about having a crush on the non-Jewish neighbor next door. But instead, it was actually not even an issue at all, which I also thought was good for representation. There's a ton of interfaith families. There's a ton of kids reading this who have families where one parent's Jewish and one parent isn't. So I do think there's people like that.
Totally. I also really like the fact that, and this is so, like I said, it's been a long time since the YA books of my adolescence in the 90s. Like Tyler has two moms, and there's it's just funny because there's all this family drama and one of the moms is estranged from her family, and I kept thinking some element of that is going to be about the fact that they're, it's two women in a relationship, but that's not anything related to it's like, Tyler's like, oh, like, I guess my grandparents, always looked down on my mom because she didn't go to college. Like,
Right,
it's like,
right.
That's the issue. Which is cool. It's great. It just shows, I don't know, how
The future is now.
the future is now, and issues are so different than they were, which is really great. And another thing
agree.
about YA, and going back to something you were saying earlier about how you want to see the whole thing, I do feel like that was I realized one of the enjoyable things about YA is like it like gives you this sort of indulgent way to like linger on stuff. Like, she would describe like she did her makeup and she did like a pink lip, or like she wore dangly earrings and like a matching cashmere sweater. And it just like, I feel like adult books, like they don't really indulge in that type of description, but like it's fun. I like to hear about a pink lip.
It is fun.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, which is why I immediately, when I found out that the other book was about her cousin Noah and that girl Abby who's staying there. There's a girl Abby who's like who's staying in the house for winter break with Noah, his girlfriend. The whole first book is about her. And I'm not going to say too much because I think in a few months when we're ready to revisit YA again, we can revisit that first book, The Summer of Lost Letters. I will say this. It is eons better than 8 Nights of Flirting. And I like 8 Nights of Flirting, but it is very good.
Okay, I'm excited.
It
Great.
is very good.
Okay, that's a good review.
Yeah, it was really good. I don't want to bore our listeners, but I do want to say that I did some research on the Jewish community in Nantucket on the Nantucket Historical Association already. Snooze, I'm sorry. But
Thank you.
there is a 53-page PDF about the Jewish community because in 2019 they did an exhibit called Strangers to Neighbors, Jewish Life on Nantucket. So there is a lot of there is a whole history of Jews in Nantucket. Hannah Reynolds definitely did do her research to make this family a possibility, though I don't think the family was necessarily a reality.
Great. Thank you, Hannah and Nantucket Historical Society. We appreciate you.
A 53-page PDF available. I could put it in the show notes if people are interested. I don't think we're going to get a single click, but
I don't know about that, but I think referencing it is enough. Let's not go crazy.
Sounds good. No, I thought this was good. I bookmarked a few quotes, a few different things that were happening in the book that were Hanukkah related, though I think that we covered most of them. The first thing I bookmarked was that cringe moment that, honestly, it brought me back. Malya, it brought back memories of my cringe moments in high school that I feel like I maybe have buried.
Wow.
She wrote in Seashells, Tyler, date me.
I like that she shortened her message because it was like she realized it was too much of an endeavor to write a longer thing with Seaglass.
Yeah, Tyler Nelson, will you go on a date with me? She said, I quickly realized it would be way too much effort. So that's why she's changed it to Tyler, date me. But yeah, I hand wrote a letter once. Like, I just so waited out. I can't even describe it, but really just cringe stuff. Truly, just nauseating. And I had buried it until this book really brought it back. But the thing I was thinking about is that first night of Hanukkah is the first night that she is snowed in with Tyler and her parents are away, and her mom calls and she's like, we're back at Aunt Liz's. We've got takeout since no one's expected to be here. We're about to light the menorah. Do you want to FaceTime? And she says, a deep ache opened in my stomach. Part of me wanted to see her, see the whole family. On the first night of Hanukkah, we always sing Sivi Von and the dreidel song and light one candle. It hurt, the idea they might sing without me. But if I watched everyone from a distance, I'd feel even worse when I hung up. No thanks, I need to start decorating anyway. Like, Hanukkah's a big deal to them. Did you notice, Malya, in the audiobook, because I know both of us read and listened at the same time, did you notice in the audiobook that they pronounced it Hanukkah?
I did, and I liked that. It felt familiar. Hamish.
Yeah, very. It was obviously intentional.
Yeah.
And then she says to...
It was well read.
She says to Tyler...
Some narrators
it's
of
the first night of
audiobooks annoy me,
Hanukkah.
and it kind of ruins the experience. But this one I liked. I found it enjoyable.
I agree. I liked the narrator a lot. She says... She tells Tyler it's the first night of Hanukkah, and... he says, Happy Hanukkah, thanks. So we have to do a couple of things. He goes, light the menorah. He knew a lot. He said, light the menorah. She said, no, decorate the house. And that's when they start doing the whole thing. And she says, again, to me thinking that there are other families like this, at home our menorah lived on a bookshelf in the living room year round. Menorah on the bookcase, Elijah's cup in the cupboard, Shabbat candle holders on the sideboard. It's like, they have Judaica stored in their house. It's something important to them.
They have the ritual. They have the objects for sure. Yeah. Should we rate this book? Should we rate it?
Let's rate it.
So what are we rating? Are we still rating? It feels weird to rate a YA novel in it like hotness, or like are we just rating quality of reading? What is this a scale of here?
Right. Do we recommend our listeners to read the book? Maybe. It's like there is a connection, and it's a little bit. Listen, it's steamier than KK Hendon's From books.
There were some good steamy scenes toward the end. I mean, I was into it. Is that weird to say? Because it's about 16-year-olds a little, but I said it. All right, I'm not taking it back.
I think it's okay. He was a hottie. And they had a nice connection.
He was beautiful.
They burned for each other.
They really did.
All right, so we're rating it, I guess, whatever, our candle system. I don't know what we're rating. Their connection.
I think if you want a YA palate cleanser with a nice, like, cute Jewish historic twist, I mean, it satisfied all that. I give it 5 candles.
5 candles. I'm gonna give it 6. I liked the book a lot, and I think I decided a few things. I think Hanukkah's sexy. I think 8 nights of Hanukkah lends itself to a budding relationship. There's
Absolutely.
8 nights.
A lot can happen.
So much could happen. A lot could happen in 8
and a lot
nights.
did.
Like
yes,
and a lot. So okay, so I like that. and I also decided, even though this is something everyone knows, that's why so many things are set there, like beach towns are sexy even in the winter, right? So it's like, that was all really...
even more so.
Totally. So, and blackouts are sexy. There was a lot here. Plus, we didn't get into this whole history. There was like a whole thing with, listeners, read the book. It's a lot we didn't share.
There's many layers here. Absolutely.
And if any of our listeners are screenwriters or showrunners or producers or anyone in the industry, this book would make an awesome series. It would be really, really good, especially if paired with The Summer of Lost Letters, which I really recommend, that we will dive into, in a few months. Before we wrap up tonight, should we tell everyone what our plan is for Hanukkah Erotica for the next year until next Hanukkah?
Absolutely. Let's share. Let's
Okay,
unveil.
great. Okay, so Hanukkah's over. We had a great time unpacking this new genre to us, Hanukkah books, Hanukkah movies, a blast. We loved it. But also in discovering the Hanukkah erotica genre, we also discovered that there is a lot of Jewish romance in general. So in the next several months...
Got a lot of recommendations.
Oh, yeah. A lot of recommendations. So we really can't wait. So what we're going to do is we're going to read 2 Jewish romance books a month. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna release every other week. And so between now and Hanukkah, you'll get to read 2 Jewish romance books a month with us. We can't wait to read them, laugh about them, unpack them together. We've been having a great time. And
there's really good options.
A lot of good options. And then next Hanukkah, we'll gear up again to do more Hanukkah erotica, movies, books, and that's what we're going to do in the meanwhile. Jewish romance, and then Hanukkah erotica for 8 nights. And next year it comes a little bit early, which is great because we're going to start feeling festive early December, not towards the end of the year. Before we wrap up, should I read?
It's looking good.
Yeah, I know. It really is. I can't wait. This has been so much fun for us. Before we wrap up, Mal, can I tell our listeners what books we're reading for January and read the descriptions so friends in our book club can get our books and read along?
Great idea.
Okay, great. Okay. The first book that we're reading is called Schmutz, a novel by Felicia Berliner. And here's what it says. Here's the description, the summary on Schmutz. In this witty, provocative, and unputdownable debut novel, a young Hasidic woman on a quest to get married fears she will never find a groom because of her secret addiction to porn. Like the other women in her Brooklyn Hasidic community, Raizel expects to find a husband through an arranged marriage. Unlike the other women, Raizel has a secret. With a hidden computer to help her complete her college degree, she falls down the slippery slope of online pornography. As Raizel dives deeper into the world of porn at night, her daytime life begins to unravel. Between combative visits with her shrink to complicated arranged dates, Raizel must balance her growing understanding of her sexuality with the more conventional expectations of the family she loves. A singular, stirring, and compulsively readable debut novel, Schmutz explores what it means to be a fully realized sexual and spiritual being caught between the traditional and modern worlds. Wow.
Wow. Holy moly.
Wow.
I'm already kind of cringing thinking about how the porn is going to be described. I don't know. This might not be an audiobook for me, but I'm excited about it nonetheless.
I'm excited too. I don't know that this is actually a Jewish romance or just a spicy Jewish novel, but we'll see. Either way, we're reading it in January. We're looking forward. Right. Okay, the next one is called Hot Rabbi by Aviva Blakeman. Yes. Parentheses, Small Town Campbell Book 1. Hot Rabbi. For 15 years... For 15 years, Shoshana Goldman has avoided her childhood synagogue. Her successful custom furniture store keeps her busy enough, and the synagogue brings bad memories, not peace. It will take nothing short of a minor miracle to change her mind. Intrigued by her friend's convictions that the new hot rabbi is that minor miracle, Shoshana agrees to attend a service. It's only one service, right? But meeting the new rabbi changes everything. David Friedman is settling into his new town and his new job easily. As a single dad and a rabbi, his priorities are his daughter and his congregation. He doesn't have time for romance, especially with when the sexy, pink-haired Shoshana, whose tendency to say whatever she's thinking, is a breath of fresh air. But a congregant is a bad idea. So it's a very good thing Shoshana isn't a member. As David and Shoshana grow closer, Shoshana's troubled past threatens to destroy their happiness. Will David be the miracle she needs to live fully in the present? Content warning, discussions of grief over loss of a parent.
Wow.
Wowie zowie.
Okay.
So that's what we're reading.
Pink-haired, sexy. I mean, wow. Okay. It's got a bit of everything.
And you won't even believe what the next book in that series is called. After Hot Rabbi comes
What?
Hot. Guess. Hot what? It's not Jewish. It's so random.
Hot. I don't know.
It's Hot Lumberjack. Hot Lumberjack is the next
After
book.
Hot Rabbi comes Hot Lumberjack? Stop.
You can't make this stuff up. It's like straight out of an SNL sketch. It's true. It's Hot Rabbi and then Hot Lumberjack.
I don't know. They're both bearded often. There's a theme. I don't know.
I don't know, but I like it. That's all I know.
Listen,
so that's what's
I'm willing to go with
happening.
it. Okay.
So that's what's happening in January. Catch up on episodes 1 through 3. Thank you for joining us this Hanukkah. Happy New Year to all of our listeners. Happy New Year to you, Mal. And I can't wait to talk about schmutz and Hot Rabbi in the new year with you.
Fabulous. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.